Let's step back a little, take a look inside our true self, get comfortable in the uncomfortable, and let's embrace our reality. Life is tough, but so are you. Welcome to the Choose Your Attitude podcast with Nicholas Strand. Join Nick, author of Loving Someone Who's Dying, as he shares his experiences of life loss to life on the road as a traveling roadie. He and his guests will get into real topics while encouraging you to let go of the past, lift up the present, and fiercely build your better tomorrow. Let's get through this together. Now, here's your host, Nick Strand.
Hey, welcome to the Choose Your Attitude podcast, where we discuss real life stuff, learn to master the only aspects we can control in life, and use it as a tool to make today the best day of your life. Every morning we wake up with a choice to make. What attitude are you going to create your life with today? We chat with people of all walks of life, people sharing their own stories and tips of some of life's most difficult journey. There is no proper way to do this correctly, besides talking about it and walking through the process, no matter how difficult it may be. So let's train the elephant in the room together, but first, a word from our sponsors. Are you looking for some much needed motivation? Maybe a new way to feel inspired? We know that life is tough, but so are you. Finding that perfect shirt you've been dreaming of is a tough journey, but we have you covered. That's why we are here with Choose Your Attitude apparel. Wear it with confidence and remind yourself you're choosing a way to success. It is a constant reminder that you can share with others. Join the Choose Your Attitude community and share an attitude of style that others will want to be a part of. So get yours now at chooseyouratitude.com. Would you like to be a sponsor on the Choose Your Attitude podcast? Reach out to us at podcast@chooseyouratitude.com. Welcome to the Choose Your Attitude podcast, brought to you by viewers like you. Without your support, this wouldn't be possible. By logging on to supportpodcast.chooseyouratitude.com, you're helping us keep this thing going and sharing our mission to the world. Choose your attitude, create your life. In this podcast, we sit down and chat with Martin Devlieger from Crowsnest Pass in Alberta, Canada, and his innovation in conquering cystic fibrosis. As a kid, we are born with little knowledge of the world, creating an unintentional, fearless energy as we learn our rite of passage. Something we learn we have control over, and something we learn we don't. However, sometimes what we don't have control over, by a simple choice, we can simply choose to overcome. Martin Devlieger was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis as a young kid, as well as his sister growing up. His mom constantly gives her motherly powers to help manage the two kids and help preserve their every breath. For a CF patient, outside of all the drugs, sometimes it's as simple as airway clearance routines. Spread between the two kids, his mom would constantly be clapping their backs, trying to compensate for the lack of support in the medical system and providing the two kids with an airway clearance vest. The vest is a common tool used in CF patients to help rattle the mucus free from sticking to the sponge-like structure of our lungs. These vests are usually tied to a long hose connected to a machine that aggressively pulsates the lungs, working up any pockets that the vibrations can free. However, to any kid, this is usually difficult as it anchors them down for the procedure. But to his mother, it allows her a bit of freedom in the ever so constant struggle to keep the both kids healthy as possible. So Martin took it upon himself to innovate a solution, cutting the cord in independence and freedom to not only relieve his mom of the efforts, but with the new solution, a way to gain health, while not being anchored down. It was a bit of adventure for him, but an adventure he does not lack. In time, he created the Monarch Airway Clearance System, a life jacket to any CF patient, but also a layer of freedom. Like anyone, he had a choice to make. Instead of letting his circumstances hold him back, he created opportunity in his own key to freedom. Sadly, he lost his sister to cystic fibrosis. However, he never gave up. Selling the innovation to Hillrom, a medical supply company, he now chooses to conquer every day to the fullest, using his sister's memory as inspiration to live, and his invention to gain a whole new adventure in life. In his own words, I sit down with Martin to hear his amazing story. Welcome to Choose Your Attitude podcast, streaming at podcast.chooseyourattitude.com. This episode has a video version that you can find and subscribe to at youtube.chooseyourattitude.com. The video version usually airs about a week after the podcast airs. Welcome, everyone, and I want to welcome Martin Devlieger. Devlieger, right?
Devlieger, yeah, perfect.
Devlieger. He's from Crowsnest Pass, Alberta, Canada. I came across him. He is an inventor of the Monarch Airway System, and he is a CF patient. And I wanted to kind of talk to him. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
Yeah. Let's first start kind of with your journey with cystic fibrosis and kind of how it all started, and maybe lead into your sister with CF as well.
Okay, yeah. So I was born actually in Holland, not in Canada. And when I was born, I, like a lot of people with cystic fibrosis, I didn't gain any weight because people with cystic fibrosis don't absorb nutrients like a normal body does without medication. So after about 2.5 weeks in the hospital, my mom couldn't get me to gain any weight. So the doctor luckily seen this before and diagnosed me at a very young age. So I was very, very lucky with that. And then moving through, because we were in Holland at the time and it's very wet and cold climate there, it's fairly hard for cystic fibrosis because people's noses are always running. They have colds. It's just not conducive. So my parents decided at a very young age when I was 3 to immigrate to Canada. So that was probably one of the best moves they've ever made. At the time, Canada had one of the highest life expectancies for CF as well. So that was a no-brainer. We moved to Canada. We got sponsored. My dad was an engineer, so he could get a job here pretty easily, which was good. And then growing up my whole life in Canada, I lived a fairly normal life. My parents were fairly strict Dutch. They didn't baby me. I went and played hockey with every other kid, and I was expected to be on the A team like everybody else. I'm not sitting on the bench or get to skip practice because I'm tired. They never ever, even still to the day, they just say, "Suck it up, Buttercup, let's go." And I think I appreciate it. Sometimes I got angry, but I really appreciate it, and it's made me who I am today.
I love that. So, really, it was a journey that you just kept with it. And how old are you right now?
I'm 38, turning 39 in July.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's probably a great feeling. So can you tell me a little bit about your sister? Because I know you have a sister, and from what I understand, she as well, she has passed away from cystic fibrosis.
So I had a sister, Karen Jane Hamilton. She passed away about 1.5 years ago, about 1.75 years ago. Oh, wow. She struggled a lot towards the ends with her lungs. I and her are quite different. She was a chartered accountant. She did not like physical activity at all. I can't be angry or blame her for it. Everybody has their own journey, correct? But towards the end, got really, really hard. Her lung function diminished really, really bad. And about 6.5 years ago, she got a double lung transplant. And for 5 years, did absolutely amazing. Her and her husband had 2 children through IVF. As you know, or you might not know that people with CF can't have children. So they had it through IVF. They had 2 twins. And they lived a perfectly normal life, and everything was going 100%. She never had rejection issues. And they went camping. It would have been about almost 2 years ago, they went camping. They came home, and that day she didn't feel so well. The next morning she woke up and she was dizzy. You could tell she wasn't quite there. They rushed her to the hospital, and by the time they airlifted her to Calgary, which is our main center in Canada, in Alberta, she was unconscious, and she was in a coma due to West Nile. She had neurological West Nile. We kept her alive for about a month, and then her heart stopped. So I think, to be honest with you, that the minute she got in the helicopter, she was already gone, but we wanted to give her a fighting chance. And a lot of people, it's hard to watch someone go through that, especially when I wanted to fight it for her, but I couldn't, but she left a good legacy. She did a lot. She was very involved with organ transplant and passionate about helping with people with cystic fibrosis. So she'll never be forgotten. And, you know, people with cystic fibrosis like myself and her often talk about death. Death is a reality of life, and it's just how you deal with it. So,
no, for sure. I think that's one thing. A lot of cystic fibrosis patients, or those with immune system, usually it's another bug or something that comes on, and especially right now with COVID, it's kind of one of those scenarios of, I don't want to call it a fear, but one of those struggles with having immunodeficiency, because for example, your sister, you had said the West Nile. For Brianna, my wife, she had abscesses, which is a superbug.
yeah.
So usually for CFers, it's, you know, everything is going great until there's another bug that hops on and kind of goes through that. And then you were saying too about death, and I find it very interesting. Brianna was kind of the same way, and I think right now, especially in these COVID times, I think a lot of people are kind of being forced into the reality you guys live by. And I don't want to say you guys, because I think that's kind of categorizing, and I don't think that's fair, because but it's something that those with cystic fibrosis live with every single day, where today those that don't have to worry about that struggle or worry about the idea that, you know, every day is a blessing because they kind of take it for granted. Death usually doesn't come up, and it's a vulnerability that I honestly wish more people that don't have a timestamp on them would actually be more open with, because, for instance, like you, I was watching through your Instagram and such. You know, just the way you live your life is completely different than I think what a lot of people who don't have that timestamp against them. In this journey, I see you've kind of created some inspiration and some drive, and you're an adventurer, it looks like.
Totally.
How has having cystic fibrosis kind of changed your mindset? If we were to vocalize a little bit more about, like you said, you know, being so fearless to death.
Yeah, I guess you said it 100%, where we do live with fear every day, like people are living now with COVID-19. Having the fear of death, I think, is somewhat healthy. I know that sounds bad. And I often speak around the world, and I'll tell people that I'm truly blessed to have CF, but I'm truly not blessed to have CF, if that makes sense. So I'm the kind of guy that if I get hucked on a mountain or down a river or jumping out of an airplane, if something's bad, I make the best of it. And that's how I've always grown up, and I've had to learn how to grow up. So I look at CF, okay, it's a bad situation. It's not fun. It's hard. You know that. But what can I learn from it? What can it do for me? And the biggest thing it's taught me is, if my kids, when I'm done here today, say, hey, let's go mountain biking, don't say I'll do it tomorrow or next week, because I might not have next week. Where a normal person, it's easy to say, nah, I'm going to go watch TV for the day. And they just do that. And then all of a sudden one day they die in a car crash and it's too late. You know, I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality we live in, that car crash could happen any day. So we know that if it's snowed 2 feet, I'm going out to enjoy every minute of last powder until it's chopped up. I'm not going to leave that for tomorrow, because I might not have tomorrow. So it's really forced me to achieve things in my life that I never thought I could. I've ran the Boston Marathon. I never thought I could, but it was like, I have this opportunity. I never will have it again. I'm going to do it, you know, stuff like that. So and same with my invention. It was, you know, I wouldn't have invented if it wasn't for CF. I wouldn't have the drive to help other people if it wasn't for CF. So am I angry to my disease? Yes, but no. It's my life. It's who I am, and I own it. And I'm not ashamed of it, and it's made me a better person.
Let's lead into that a little bit. So as you you have become a better person, and I noticed that just by looking at your Instagram. You also have a YouTube channel, and I've watched some of that as well. But what really caught me off guard was seeing your Monarch Monarch Airway system that you created. Mind you, this is an airway system that CFers use to clear up their lungs. Because of the salt deficiency, the mucus in their lungs and other areas really builds up. So it's very important, for them to clear that. Most of the systems are a vest that have a hose that go to this, toolbox, if you will, that anchors them. And it's usually an hour procedure, but you took upon yourself and invented something that almost looks like it reminded me, seeing you kind of playing outside, it reminded me of like a motorcycle vest.
Yeah.
But tell me the story of this. Seeing that actually kind of, watching Brianna locked down to the ground, and then seeing this almost made me cry a little bit, because all I saw was independence. And it's got to be amazing.
So when I was 18, I had to decide what I wanted to do in life. I as a career, obviously, I tried a lot of things. My dad was in construction, so I did that, a little bit of farming. But I'm the kind of guy, I need adrenaline. I like sports, all that kind of stuff. So I just chose to become a commercial helicopter pilot. So I went to school and I became a commercial helicopter pilot, and I actually found a job right away, and I was flying all over Northern Canada and Northwest Territories. And at that point, I had nobody to take care of myself doing manual physio, because in Canada, we have no access to any extras. We have good healthcare, but we don't get such as the vest that was with hoses from Hill-Rom. We couldn't get those. So I always did chest physio. So when I started flying, I lived out of a hockey bag all over the world and Canada. My health started to decline fairly quickly because of that. So I came home one time and my mom said to me, "Hey, you've always invented stuff. You figured things out. If you want to live, you're going to have to figure something out here. I can't help you. I can't go with you in a bag." So that's where I started playing with the idea, and I made my first couple prototypes right out of steel in my garage. I call them the Iron Maiden. If you look on my Instagram, you could see some pictures of them. And then that kind of evolved into where we are now, as I just kept on playing with the idea and inventing. And then I had a tragic, not an accident when I was flying, but I flew a helicopter home. And a lot of you know with cystic fibrosis, some of us are susceptible to CF liver disease. So I had varicose veins growing in my esophagus because my liver was bad because of portal hypertension. And I didn't know this. So I actually flew a helicopter home. A few hours later, I got rushed to the hospital. I was literally hemorrhaging blood. And at that point, they got it under control. It's all stable now. But at that point, the government said you can't fly commercially for a living anymore. I still could fly for fun, airplanes. I have my own airplane, but I couldn't fly commercially. So it was a real hard point in my life. I just had a girlfriend at the time. We were actually my fiance, and I wanted to provide. I wanted children. So what do I do now? So my mom said to me, "Martin, this isn't a bad situation. It is bad, but it's not." I said, "What have you always wanted to do in life? What's next in life? Just look at what's out there." And she said, I just want to suggest to you that everybody in your clinic wants the Monarch. Run with it. So that's kind of what my incentive was. So then I managed to find a few financial partners, and we built the company. It used to be called Chessmaster, actually. We built the company, and now we're here where we are today. So it's been an amazing road, and it's helped a lot of people, and it's truly, I'll put it on here.
Yeah.
It's like before, like you said, the other one is with hoses and such. This is literally just a backpack. So you just literally you throw it on. So I'll throw it on in the morning.
Yep.
Put it on, and it's a one fits all.
It's literally like a life vest. Like you. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I always say to people is of course my zipper's jamming. Is so there's 8 lobes there's 4 lobes of your lungs, right? And when you do manual physio, you do every lobe on the front, back, and stuff. So basically that would be 8 hands. So I always say that these are 8 hands of my mother. So there are 8 hands doing physio while I'm walking around being free. And you can see here, I'll back up a bit, but I'm totally free. I can walk, I can do anything. I literally put it on in the morning. If my kids are running around outside, I'll go outside. I'll even wear it. A lot of times I snowmobile guide. In the morning, I got to drive a half hour. Wow. I just put it on. I put it on while I get my stuff ready. And where treatment used to be life, and you know yourself,
Yep.
if you add up 20 minutes to an hour twice a day, 365 days a year, 38 years, that is a lot of life wasted sitting on a couch doing nothing. Where now I get all that time is life. And with cystic fibrosis, our life is limited. So that's very, very important. And that's something that now people can go to college. Now people can go there. And it's absolutely amazing what it's done for me. And it's kept me, really, really healthy. I've been IV antibiotic treated twice in my life. That's it. So it's proven and it's worked very, very well.
I love it. So keep in mind, guys, so this is basically, one of the things, like you said with your mom, is when they say clap, you're literally cupping your hands and having somebody clap on your back to kind of get that movement up. And so what the vest does is allow an individual to do that without having somebody else do that. And now what this has done is created an independence now, to where, much like Brianna, and you've kind of done this, is you've now allowed this person, no matter their struggle with cystic fibrosis, to run cystic fibrosis life, as opposed to cystic fibrosis run your life. And and that is just, that right there for me is what I think is so beautiful about that is, yes, the science that you've created is amazing, but the independence or the strength you've actually mentally given somebody, to do that is actually pretty impressive on, something that literally takes the anchor away, and allows them to just live a life and do, like you said, do this. And you said this has actually helped you a lot in your airway clearance because you're able to wear it a lot more, and it's literally battery powered.
Yeah, I'll turn it on here. So I got it on, so we'll show the people here what it does. So basically, you got settings, you got intensity, and you have a frequency, which is two different modes to move air. And what this does is it creates air movement in your lungs, which shears the mucus, so you can cough it out. So I'll turn it on here, and you'll hear the difference in my voice once it ramps up. So my voice, now you can hear my voice, how it's very. So basically, what that's doing now is it's moving all little coughs in my lungs all the time. And you can see it's actually, I'll turn it off here, I'm going to hack my brains open. So what it does is it creates little air movements in your lungs, shears the mucus, and allows you to cough it out. Where, instead, and then I do some huff coughs. And I really, and the beauty of this is you can move around while you're doing it. So you're not sitting still. So because you're outside, you don't mind coughing. You're standing up straight. And activity for CF is one of the major things, at least in my life. So if I can contribute, if I can incorporate my physio with my activity, man, that's huge, So it's, and I want to touch on a point you talked about a second ago here is it helps you with the physical side of the disease. But what I've seen and what it's done for me and a lot of people is also has gave us a mental boost with cystic fibrosis. CF is as much mental as physical. You're always thinking about dying. You're always coughing, so it's reminding you're sick. You're always taking medication, so it's reminding you're sick. But if this allows you to go to your friend's house, if you're a 15-year-old and you're never allowed to leave because your mom's doing treatment or you're bound to the couch, now you can go to your friend's camp over in the mountains. You can just put it in a backpack. Now you can go on that ski trip. Now all of a sudden you have life and you're starting to glow and you're starting to feel like a normal person. And because of that, you want to fight harder. It's like, hey, I can live now. I have a purpose to live. So let's and that mental side is huge because I see that in CF, and including myself. If I don't watch, that mental side will drag me down. So I need to do things that get my mind away from it, including this, and that helps me do that. And that's an amazing feeling. It's almost, I would say, as great a benefit physically as it is mentally. Oh, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. And that's exactly what I was saying is I see that mental strength totally. over that, because that was one of the battles Brianna had near the end, she had 32 straight months of a 24-hour IV. Yeah. And here you are locked to this bag. She actually called it Chuck because she wanted to chuck it. But here you are locked to this, and you can't get away from it. Where here you've been able to kind of, because you can't control this monster, you've given one more tool to be able to control something that's almost uncontrollable. And
Totally.
that's really powerful when you're, looking at the upper hand. I really wish, I would have seen this earlier to be able to, have her, be able to, benefit from it, but to see
Yeah.
it and to be able to talk about it is just, I think that's impressive. As you were growing, and going through the struggles of CF, but then creating this, how has that kind of, I know we talked about, it's helped you health wise and, mentally, but as far as your life with health insurance and all this other stuff, how has that allowed you to literally succeed into your, like you said, living? Because I see, your handle for, Instagram, adventure life, and you literally look like that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
How does that kind of, equate, and, how has you, that make you feel, be able to, actually succeed in that ability that would, and I guess I would actually stretch that question too, to, maybe even as those that maybe feel like they're struggling because of the CF, being able to reach that adventure like you have been able to succeed with.
Yeah, that's a long question, but yeah,
Sorry.
I guess the whole journey for me has, the feeling is overwhelming. I still have to give my head a knock once in a while and see how many lives have changed and how many people, are starting to live like me. I get a lot of people out there and say, hey, my son watches you on Instagram every day. Keep posting your stories. It just allows him to get outside. Sometimes I put on crazy stuff and they're like, yeah, but you know what? That's what makes them happy. That's what makes these boys go. That's what does it. And, that has been an amazing feeling to me. And it's also the whole journey of inventing this and having CF over the last, close to 10 years has really opened a lot of opportunities. I've been, I really, before, never really talked about my disease too much to other people. I kept it to myself. I never hid it, but I never went out to help other people or speak to people. And now this has created opportunities where I could speak at the National CF Conference. I could speak to patients. I get a lot of parents on Instagram, or even younger families or younger people want to have kids, or all kinds of stuff. And they've come to me and asked me for advice, or what would I do, or how I live my life. And it's gave me a purpose that I can share the things I truly love to do that make me feel better and beat my disease in my way with others. And it's been helping others. And that's been, so fulfilling. Money can't buy, things can't buy anything like the feeling of helping someone else. And that's something I want to really continue to do. Just like speaking with you today, when you reached out to me, that's amazing what you're doing. And this helps people. We're not doing this for myself. You're not doing this for yourself. We're doing this to help other people. So when a young child is born with CF and their mother reaches out to me and says, all I've been on the internet is seeing this negative about my kid's going to die and he's going to go through this and he's going to go through this. And now I see in your Instagram page, sure, I'm sick once in a while and I have CF, liver disease, and diabetes and all that. And I don't show it all the bad stuff, but it is beatable to a certain extent. We're all numbered, even a normal person is, but it is beatable. And for them to see that, I was speaking in Huntington Beach, and a mother out of the crowd just came straight up to me and says, I know I'm not supposed to hug you because of CF, but I just want to hug you. He said, my boy wouldn't even leave the house. And now he's playing soccer, he's playing football. Wow. He doesn't care, and he tells people, I have CF and I'm beating it, and that's the attitude we want. It's so hard to get drugged down in this negative world. We need to be positive, and that's a message I really want to push, and you're pushing it as well. And that's amazing.
I think you kind of said it there, and it's kind of wanted to clarify that too, is, no matter your physical limitation, almost always is it more of a mental limitation.
Totally.
That, no matter where you are, that if you have the right mindset and solution oriented, you can take a step forward, no matter how far back you've become. And by creating that mindset, much like you have done in your, strive to, not let CF control you, you've really created this life that you still struggle every day, mind you, but at the same time, you're overcoming it. And those small successes way overshadow any of the failure that you have in your constant battle, which,
Yeah.
is quite inspiring. I have to say, as you say this about helping others in the community, one of the things I've noticed right now is, especially with COVID, it has forced a lot of people into an uncomfortable situation, yet people like yourself or Brianna or those who love someone like you, that's your everyday life.
Yep, totally.
So I would have to say, as a way to switch the question around, speaking to somebody who, I call it an hourglass. We all
Yep.
know what sand is at the bottom. Some of us don't have that timestamp to know anything about what's up top. People like you with cystic fibrosis, you've been diagnosed a time, or there's statistics to kind of show of what time you might have, and so there's a little bit of stress there. But some of us don't know that's not seen. So now that we're sitting here and in these uncomfortable times, forced into what you guys have to become comfortable with and overcome, what's a message to kind of share to them, to maybe help them come out of this as stronger characters, stronger people, to better understand, not only for you, but for just health in general?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to say, yeah, we do go through what people are going through on a daily basis. I have my whole life. That's why CF is one of the most, internet-based social platforms in the world, because that's how we communicate. And that's what people are doing now. You hear a lot of, like, we had Thanksgiving here in Canada, and or not Thanksgiving, whatever the Easter, the last holiday was, and everybody just did it via Wi-Fi. And that's what we normally do. If my mom was sick or my brother was sick, then that's what we would do. I wouldn't go, right? So that's a life we live every day. And I think we need, I hope people from COVID, what's going on now, we learn that what we have in life is precious, that we can go give our neighbor a hug is precious, that we can go mow their grass and help them is precious. And I think a lot of that stuff in the world was lost. We were an entitled, including myself, we're an entitled generation that give me, me, want. Well, now that we can't have, we are learning to realize what really matters in life. What matters more than my kids and me being in the mountains here, be able to bike every day. Sure, we're isolated, but it's a great thing. So if we learn that, your muscle car you go rip down the road at night that you can't do now, or you can't go to the hockey game, that's not important. It's your kids at home. It's your life. It's your, and I'm hoping that sets a kind of bit of a reset in the world and allows people to realize that, food's important, being kind's important, helping other people's important. And it just puts us back to reality. We've gone so far left that I want to go back right. And I know I've got to take the politics out of that, but yeah. I really want people to learn from that. And don't get angry that you have to stay home for a week. You are helping humanity. And I'm just going to put a plug in there for CFers. Yeah. A lot of people have been protesting staying home and all that kind of stuff. That's the most selfish thing I can say is there's people like myself, like people with cancer, lung transplant people, anybody. Those are the people you're hurting. You're not hurting yourself. So love everybody and do what's right. And let's just get through this together, but let's learn from it so we don't make these mistakes again. And then we learn to, every day when we go to bed, say, I love you to your children. And, because it might not be there tomorrow. And that's something I'm hoping that resets the world.
It's amazing. Dr. Pottinger, who is Brianna's infectious disease doctor in Seattle, his interview will actually air right before this one.
Yep.
And that was one of the things he came up with, hashtag COVID reset.
And I've heard that actually.
Yeah. And I think it's true. And I think one of the biggest things in addition to that I've kind of exemplified too is that, a lot of us struggle with freedoms. Well, that selfishness is tough because what we don't realize is, like you said, that precious life we take for granted. And there's so much complexity that's going on from a day-to-day basis inside ourselves that we especially healthy people that don't even have the ability. The sicknesses, most of them, none of them are really a choice. It's not like you chose to have CF.
No,
You're
not at
born
all.
with that, and that's something you have to deal with. And so healthy people kind of have a free card, and at the same time, they've kind of taken it for granted. And it's nice that now we're kind of in this area where we're able to kind of, like you said, pull all the craziness away to actually see that, our life is actually very fragile and precious, and we should really be more grateful about that and appreciative.
Totally, the way you said it, like we got our freedoms taken away with COVID-19, but in a way we're getting our freedoms back to realize what's really important. And I recently just as COVID started, I joined a foundation called the Monarch Global Foundation, and it's a bunch of people, including the president. And I don't know if you ever heard of the show West Coast Customs out of so I've joined with them, and because of this whole thing, they are starting to realize how we live, and they want to bring freedom back to children. So what they're doing is they're starting a foundation making limousines with air purifiers in them, like basically a hospital room safety, and be able to take CF patients out of the hospital to go see to the lake or to the beach or for a drive, or with and they went as far as saying that, if the celebrity they want in there, they'll put them in there because they're very well connected. So this is a group of people that are starting this foundation that is absolutely amazing, and this is good things that come out of bad things, right? So I want to encourage people to either join like the Global Monarch Foundation, help with that, or reach to your neighbor who needs help. And I think the world will be better because of this. It's hard to see, but I relate it to my life of CF. I'm a better person because of my CF. And people say, give your head a shake. You're dying because you're CF. No, I'm living because my CF. I'm truly living. You're not, and that's kind of, and I really pray that the world goes that way. It's absolutely amazing.
That's a couple things. That's exactly kind of where the book originates, and that's why I know some people have a hard time with it, because loving someone who's dying, and I put that on there for that exact point of what you said, because at the end, I kind of bring that back to life. That no, she wasn't dying, she was living, and yes, the days were starting to get numbered, but that's what it should be. And I feel like, those that, don't have that, they don't see death as a obstacle. So they don't live where those with CF or with who have been time stamped. It's something you're able to, make you work harder, towards making that life fuller. And I will have to say too, to your statement about overcoming obstacles and how it makes things better, you're wearing that. You were in a struggle where you didn't have anything to help you, and it was life or death, and you overcame, invented, created, and now you're wearing something that to many is something simple, but at the same time, that little precious time that they have has now given them an entire story to succeed. That's very powerful. And
totally.
Beautiful. That was another thing with your limousine thing. Beautiful. What that brought to my mind was when Brianna got sick and her lungs started to fail. She wanted to go home. And it was the worst. I don't want to say the worst. It was a difficult decision, because here you are as a family forced with somebody who's having a really hard time breathing, and you want to make sure that they're safe and the travel home is right. And to be able to have an ambulance or something that changes. So when Brianna left, we took out all her IVs, we took out all her oxygen. She did have oxygen because she just needed that, but we took the IVs out so that way she could have she could go out without being a number. She could go out without the
Exactly.
cystic fibrosis. And to have a limousine like that, although to some people probably laughs a little bit, but
Yeah.
in your head, when you're trying to overcome this battle, that small little drive in something like that would mean the world to that
Yeah.
person, because in their mind they're winning.
Yeah.
And I think that project is just beautiful
Yeah.
in itself, and I wanted to add that, not to kind of take away from.
That's interesting. If I got a second,
Yeah, for sure.
what you said there, actually Robert and Lorenzo from West Coast Customs shared with me actually yesterday. Was I asked him, why are you doing this? Why are you, like, this guy has $1 billion what he does. Why are you doing this? He goes, because Robert actually has 2 daughters with CF, and one of them was in the hospital. He says, when I went there, and his daughter's pretty young. I think it was the first time in the hospital. He says, when I went there and seen all those CF people stuck in a room, just wishing they could, go for a drive, see outside. He says, we don't realize the freedoms we have, even with COVID-19 right now, compared to a CF patient who is locked in an isolation room for up to 14, 2, 3 months, 4 months. That is horrible. There's nothing worse than a human being being isolated from another human being. And we're all learning that now with COVID-19. We're not meant to be apart. So you could see, like how you said, she wanted to go home. I always said to my wife already that if I'm dying, I'm going to die outside of the hospital on the grass or at my house. I am not dying in the hospital. I can't. I just physically can't. I will drag myself out. And that's because we don't want our last memory to be locked up like COVID-19. And that's how we live every day. And this Monarch Global Foundation, hats off to them. It's amazing what they're doing. And it's exactly what you said, what she went through. And if they can help people and I can help them with them, let's do that. Let's change the world.
I think that's just beautiful. Agreed. I couldn't say it better. Is there anything else? I kind of interrupted you there, but is there anything else you want to say? Or
I just want to say to people, like, with my CF, obviously I'm an inventor of the vest here, but I'm also, my journey in life is to help other people with CF. So I'm a very open book. I get a lot of people asking questions about, how I went through having children. I had, we used a sperm donor because I couldn't have kids. Yep. I don't hide anything. And the reason I do that is because I want to help other people. So I'm on Instagram at CF_adventure life. I don't know. You could put that up somewhere.
Yep.
Please follow me. I'm not doing this for myself. If you have any questions, message me. I'll give my personal cell phone number out. I have no issues. I meet with people. I wish there would have been people like myself when I was growing up that I could say, hey, if I'm going out with this girl next week, do I tell her? Do I not tell her? Do I try cough? Do I not cough? Like that goes through, like things go through CF patients' mind that don't go through a normal patient's mind because everything in our life is affected. So if they have someone they can talk to or a parent they can talk to, it helps a lot. So I just want to encourage people, use your resources. There's lots of people, not just myself. There's Ashley. There's lots of CF patients out there. So, don't hesitate, reach out and talk to me.
That's beautiful. I think one of the things the world needs to do a better job of, and I hope we're learning that right now, is a better job of accepting instead of excluding, because exactly like you said is, there's those uncomfortables or the things that cultures has created. For example, like you said, a cough and stuff like that, to a CFer, they can't control because it happens all the time. I don't know how many times Brianna's had a coughing attack and someone's like, do you need water? Are you okay? And it's like, it's not that they're, it's a warm throat. It's just, that's their life. And those interactions, although are small, like you said, and when you're battling with that every single day, it's a reminder sometimes that things are different and it's uncomfortable. And, it's good to have people like you, and it's good to have people that are more open and accepting, to be able to help them feel more comfortable in that uncomfortable. And if that was one thing I was saying a little while ago too, is if we could all challenge ourselves to become uncomfortable with others that are uncomfortable as opposed to excluding them, I think we could really do a better job to the world.
Totally.
And so the last question that I always ask is with Brianna, one of her things for her legacy was choose your attitude, create your life. She created that quote as a way to help others and give a physical gift back in addition to her legacy.
Yeah.
When you hear that in your mind, what do you hear? How do you interpret that? The quote itself: choose your attitude, create your life.
You know, that's a really good statement she put out there. I think it's very strong. We have to choose our attitude by not being negative. We have to put the anger aside. We have to put the hatred to the disease aside. And we have to choose a positive attitude. We have to believe that we can live and we can beat this. A guy once told me, I know a guy actually in Banff here who climbed Everest. And he told me that physically his body can't make it to the top, but mentally my body can. Because he chose to believe he could get to the top, right? When I climb mountains, I often, oh man, the first 3 steps, like I got to go all that way. But then I choose to believe I'm going to make it to the top, and I do. It's hard. But the feeling you get when you have a positive attitude and you choose to believe to get to the top is absolutely amazing. And that's some freedom that nobody could take away from me. And that's what I crave. And that's why I do all this crazy stuff. You know, like I'm actually just heading out downhill mountain bike with a couple guys in a half hour. That's why I do this stuff. Wow. It's hard. It's to get out of bed and do it is hard, but yeah, to choose the attitude to win and succeed, or to make the best of a situation and to be positive, to make others positive so they live a positive life is amazing. And hats off to her, man. That's a strong, I want to write that on my wall, man. That's good.
Oh, beautiful.
I love it. Yeah.
I actually tattooed that on my arm with her handwriting.
Can you send me a picture of that? And I want to put it on my Instagram, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That hits me hard, dude. That hits me exactly where I'm at, man. I love it.
That's beautiful. No, I agree. It's I think it's amazing because you've done exactly what you just described too. Hearing you say that you did the Boston Marathon, keep in mind that when you were diagnosed, people said everything but the ability to run,
exactly,
let alone do something. And so there's a lot of times that people around you, and I think that saying, you shouldn't have to have cystic fibrosis, or you shouldn't have to have these things to challenge you, and more so challenge yourself. And the fact that just because somebody tells you, or not tries to, but things outside may limit you, that gives you fear or something. For example, being diagnosed with something, by simply trying to overcome it with a mental mindset. And even if it's a baby step, celebrate each one, because
absolutely, that's
a lot more than, what you've been, challenged with. So I think that's amazing.
Yep.
Definitely an inspiration. Once again, let's revisit, where can people find you again?
So they can find me on YouTube at the YouTube channel, just Martin Devlieger. Instagram is my biggest thing. It's CF_adventurer life, all one word. Or on Facebook under Martin Devlieger, totally reach out to me. I'm willing to help anybody. So yeah. And I just want to say, thanks for what you're doing, man. This is amazing. And you know what, of course, I just found out about you and heard about you, but this is absolutely amazing. And you will make a difference, man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It means the world to me. And it's just, and I think you would probably say the same thing, is none of my energy is really for self-gratitude.
Yep.
But at the same time, the energy of inspiring somebody like you or inspiring others is fuel for my own struggles in life. And it just constantly reminds me that, although you may feel isolated, you may feel depressed, you may feel everything's against you, that there's the person next to you is going through the same struggle. They might not share it with you, but they're going through the same struggle. And that no matter what you do, every little step is actually seen by other people. And to me, that's just fuel for my fire. That helps me, move through. So I appreciate that. We'll make sure to put your information in the description of the podcast. as well as when with the YouTube video of this, we'll put it on the screen. But thank you so much for your time. This is amazing. I appreciate it. And I hope people go check them out because true inspiration. And, you know, it's pretty amazing what you've overcome and created, and excited to see kind of, you know, more of what comes of this. So that's amazing. Thanks everyone for joining us on Choose Your Attitude podcast. Don't forget to come visit us at chooseyourattitude.com, where you can find more information about the mission, as well as hashtag CYA, wear it, share it, Choose Your Attitude apparel, along with my books, Loving Someone Who's Dying and Illustration Quotes on a Fridge. If you have any questions or ideas for the show, please email us at podcast@chooseyourattitude.com. As we are always excited to hear from you. Don't forget to come follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Choose Attitude Create Life. And if you're already following us, we always love a share. Thanks for listening. As always, choose your attitude, create your life.
Thank you for listening. To reach out to Nick and the Choose Your Attitude community, find us on social media at Choose Attitude Create Life. Share your attitude with the world with merch guaranteed to encourage at chooseyourattitude.com. Be sure to share us with friends, family, and colleagues. And while you're at it, leave us an uplifting review. We'd very much appreciate it. Check back for new episodes. Until next time, choose your attitude, create your life.